so many fans hear about collectives, right, at schools, collectives, and that where folks are getting together and raising money, essentially, and helping keep teams intact where players might not go pro earlier than that. I mean, I guess collectives would be over under the concept of just a collective bargaining, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And the collectives, yes. The collectives sprang up, Rich. I didn't anticipate this. I knew it would come in some form. I just didn't know it would come in the form of collectives. The collective sprang up so that schools could offer money to players under the NIL rules and do it in a way that made it seem like it's outside the school. It's not like these collectives are going out and recruiting players that the coach doesn't want. They are working in tandem with these collectives. But it's really no different than when a fan base wants to get rid of a coach and the coach has a big buyout. The fans raise the money for the school to do it in certain instances. So that's the way and you hear people use the term unsustainable. It's unsustainable for the schools to have to go back to the well to all these big donors and raise money every year. Well, if it's unsustainable, then don't do it. I don't understand the problem here. The schools want to pay the players. That's been proven by the fact that these collectives are all over the place. And you have coaches now that are going to their fan bases saying, hey, to remain competitive, we need you to give money so we can fund our collective and pay the players. It's not a big deal to pay them. They know they're going to do it, and they just need to bite the bullet and go ahead and do it. And I'm telling you, Rich, like this will not be a problem. The problem will be administrators know what's going to happen. They know that once players are allowed to be paid, that the business is going to start being run efficiently, and they're going to start putting money where it matters, which is on the field or on the court in player acquisition and paying the best coaches. All these administrative positions that are basically bank vice presidents are going to go away. And when private equity comes in, when these schools start selling their programs to private equity is going to come in and say, hey, man, we bought this income stream. You are going to eliminate all these needless expenses. And we're going to see an efficient business like you see in the NFL and the NBA. It's already the NFL and the NBA. The only difference is the NFL and the NBA do not restrict what the players make. And there are salary caps, but those are bargained between the players and the league, and the players get 50% of the league revenues. And college sports doesn't want that. They don't want to give 50% of their revenues to the players, but we're headed more in that direction. I don't know that we'll ever get to collective bargaining or there'd be a union or a trade association to bargain with, but that's where we're headed.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Dartmouth already trying to unionize or has gotten the green light to do something like that? I mean, so the question is when does all this happen? I mean, you mentioned the name of the lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler. Anybody who follows the NFL and their labor battles and collective bargaining agreements knows that the word Jeffrey Kessler is potentially a four-letter word for a lot of owners in the NFL. So he means business, and he usually gets the way that he wants. So what's the timeline on all this as we're getting set for a college football season with 12 playoff teams and yet another men's? And by the way, the women's game is absolutely exploding as we saw Sabrina Ionescu against Steph Curry, Caitlin Clark, setting a major record and then sparking a conversation as to whether she's great or not and things of that nature. I mean, this is all exploding right now. What's the timeline on it, Jay?
It depends, Rich, if we continue to go the legal route through the courts and through legislatures. That'll take a little bit longer. The House case is the linchpin in all this. So it's a group of players that are suing in a class action for damages for being cut out of sharing in revenues over all these decades. And the damages are going to be in the billions. And then in antitrust cases, those damages are tripled. So the NCAA is going to lose that case, and I think they know it. In fact, I know they know it. So the best thing to do for the NCAA is go to Kessler and settle the case. And say they know they're going to have to pay a lot of money. They'll be able to settle it short of the $4 or $5 billion they're very likely to lose at trial.
And who gets that money, Jay? Just not to interrupt.
The players.
Who?
The players,
like players from for the last 10, 20 years and things of that nature?
Yes. Yes. They're members of a class. So it's a class action. So anybody who gets certified as part of that class is going to share in that judgment. Okay. And, there's a big question as to where's the money going to come from? Like, how are the schools going to pony up? But they're going to be liable for it. But I think the best thing to do is go to Kessler and say, look, here's the money amount that we'd like to propose paying. But also, we're going to change. We're going to work with you to change the system and say, here's what we're going to do going forward. There's nothing stopping the NCAA from changing their rules tomorrow. They just don't want to. But now they're going to have to. They've got this weight on them with this House case and other litigation, and they're going to lose. And absent Congress coming in and giving them a federal law that preempts all these state laws. And make some of this litigation I don't think there's any federal law that could stop that litigation. So they may be on the hook for those damages anyway. But going forward, if they got some kind of federal law, they may be protected and not subject to antitrust problems in the future. But given that Congress can't pass anything right now, what's the realistic hope that they're going to come in and take on college sports? And how would they enforce it? Like the federal government doesn't want to be overseeing college sports and have to enforce any law that they pass. So they can talk about a new law all they want to. The issue is going to be government enforcement of that law.
So the timeline, just to put a point on it, would be, what do you think? Where things completely change and blow up, and we're going to have to take a look at the athletics differently.
The House case is scheduled to go. The House case is scheduled to go to trial at some point in 2025. So we're looking at a period of a few years here. I think the prudent thing is to do things now and get moving on it. But when has the NCAA done the prudent thing? They've made so many just horrific mistakes, including petitioning the Supreme Court for the Alston case. That was profoundly stupid, and they got crushed 9-0, including a concurring opinion by Justice Kavanaugh that the NCAA said, well, that's not law. It may not be law, but every lower court is looking at that, and they're taking direction from it. So, look, it's over. The players are going to be paid. The question is, how soon will the NCAA wake up to this and take their heads out of the sand and do something about it? And right now, it looks as if they're just trying to, keep going as long as they can and hope that there's some miracle out there for them from Congress. And I'm not sure it's coming. I don't think it is.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.